tell everybody who you are and what you're about, bro.
Yeah. Well, okay, my name's Shah, obviously. And basically my whole thing is, man, I used to work at the local child support agency here in Sacramento, California for 5 years. So I was a child support officer. I was the guy, if you ever watch Maury, I was doing the genetic tests. I came after people for their money. I filed lawsuits against people. And I've read thousands of divorce orders because we have to modify into them. I've talked to countless men and women who, by the time they encountered our system, man, they were already screwed. You know what I mean? So it was like my whole thing with my channel was I was just going to spread a little bit of that child support knowledge because I got a really deep look into the child support system on the back end. And there's a lot of stuff people don't really understand about the laws. And, I like Fresh and Fit. I like whatever podcasts. I like a lot of these creators because they're really entertaining and funny and all that stuff. But I just think there's this huge blind spot that some of the folks in this sphere need to focus on because men really need to understand this. I mean, I've talked to so many men across the desk from me, 22, 23, 24 years old, even older. And by the time they were sitting across from me, they didn't know how bad of a situation they're in. And I think more guys need to know that before they get caught up in the system.
Bro, you are going to be the next dude. I know I'm going to keep rocking with you because not on this show, because we know what we're talking about here, but I would definitely like to talk to you about what you have seen. And especially to the point of, men need to get together and change laws instead of sitting around crying about it. They need to, and it can be done.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the problem, sorry to interrupt you, is that
go ahead.
I think there's so much ignorance on what the laws actually are that there's all this frustration, anger out there. There's all this stuff. And like my dream is to see it channeled into the point of a spearhead, that so we know what we're asking for, so we can aim that right at the heart of this thing. And this is something that needs to be blown up so people can be made more aware of how paternity laws work here, how spousal and child support laws work, and all these other things that are just waiting like little, bear traps to get a guy when you're just trying to do what you're trying to do as a man here. I'm
gonna say this one. I'm gonna ask you just one last question, and then we're gonna get back to the subject matter at hand because I know you don't have a whole lot of time, but we're gonna get together and make this happen. Answer me this, and this is something I say on this platform all the time. The courts don't care about your gender. They simply want to know who has the money.
Absolutely 100% true. And I'll tell you this, because spousal support and child support laws are not gender biased. It's just biased towards who the provider is, who plays the masculine role. The vast majority of people I've seen paying were men. But, before I stopped working at the child support agency, I started seeing a lot of nurses and pharmacists and women getting these jobs who are now finding themselves in the system. What is biased, though, is paternity laws, because that's something that can only apply to men. I could talk about that more later. But when it comes to just the money, it's all just a calculator. It's all a guideline, and it all just falls on who has the money. And I've seen so many guys go into court with this whole story about she did this or she said he did that, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, all the court hears is how much do you make? How much does she make? What's the custody? And then bam, there's how much you owe. And that's just how it works on the back end, So I can get into that a lot more also.
Oh, we're going to set it up, bro. We're gonna have the one day when you got 2 hours or so that we can just sit down and really get into it.
I'll tell you what, I'm actually just not going to that class tonight. So me and my buddy were taking a stand-up class tonight, and we're both just so busy. And I'm like, you know what? I'd rather have fun doing this. So I got to say
stand-up. I got to interrupt. Did you say stand-up as in stand-up comedy?
Yeah. We like watching. We're going to see Russell Peters on the 28th in San Francisco, and I saw Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock when he came to Sacramento. Probably, I think was that in March. It was like a few months back. So we're like, let's take a stand-up class, have some fun, But.
All right, bro. I got to put you on game. I'm a retired air traffic controller.
You're a comedian. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm a retired air traffic controller, but while I was air traffic controller, I spent the majority of my time in LA. I was a air traffic controller by day, stand-up comedian by night. I had over 15 years in the game. So do not take a stand-up class. Don't do it. You and your buddy need to just go to the open mics and just do that. Were they charging you for this stand-up class?
I paid $180 for 4 classes. We went to the first class last week, and it was so bad. It was so bad. The lady talked at us for an hour without using like a single example. And it was like, I can't do this, man. Like,
wait. You paid a lady $180 to teach you how to do stand-up, bro.
Yeah, I was like, man, let me try this. And it was a mistake.
Bro, I got a sound effect for you, bro.
You big dummy.
Stuff, man. I messed. Here's the thing. I'm taking an improv class, and that class is really good. Like the teachers are like They're just good. They're really involved. They know how to talk to us. And then I'm taking the stand-up class because I was like, well, the improv class is good. Why not take the stand-up? And man, it was bad. So,
bro, we need to talk. Okay. First of all, we got two things we could do. We could do a show about child support and how that works, and then we can do it. We can do if I would love to have you come and talk to me about. Improv is different, but like your stand-up stuff and your comedy journey, you can come over here, bro, and I can bring some folks up. I can get some improv people. I can get some stand-up people, and you can just be on this platform, and we could just tell you how you wasted your damn money going to somebody's class. Now, improv is different, though. Improv is different. Like that is a skill set you need to hone. It's like acting. So yes, you need those classes. That's different. But stand-up, don't you spend no money. Like you, $180, man. You could have sent me a $20 super chat, bro, and I'd have taught you 100 times more.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to stick with child support just to give probably the people what they're expecting. I don't know if you told any of the folks in here yet, so but.
No, we haven't. And so I'm gonna bring the video back up. And Level Up Man was saying that there's no need for a war between these two platforms. He's right.
I agree. I wish that they can all focus together, because the more of us, what I'd like to see for the red pill is for it to become a true political movement. Right now, it's this loosely connected sort of, just a bunch of guys dealing with it, and they're coming together. They're getting smarter. Each iteration of the red pill gets a little bit more sophisticated. And I think the next sort of evolution of the red pill, as it kind of leaves its collective anger phase, is to figure out how to become politically active. It's like the one thing that I got to give credit to the feminists for is they managed to get all these people on their side to create political change for themselves. And now it's the men's turn to do it, because right now we're left with a system that's just like a meat grinder for us. And so, that's my stated goal. And that's what I'd like to see. So the war is really unnecessary. And it's unfortunate that you see people trying to be gatekeepers on one side or the other. And I think it's something we can talk about and hopefully make bigger to get that problem fixed.
I'm with you on that, bro. I'm definitely with you on that. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the video from where we were. And then, I'll stop it. If you want me to stop it, just tell me, hey, stop it right there. I want to, harp on that point. Let's pull this up. I use StreamYard. I think you use StreamYard as well.
I typically just use OBS. I used to stream a while ago, but I've never actually used StreamYard. So
OBS, if you got OBS, it's actually better than StreamYard in my opinion. It has more bells and whistles. It's just harder to use. StreamYard is just point and click. So here we go. Let's check this out.
There's some beefing going on here between whatever and Fresh and Fit. Mind you, Fresh claims this body count before FNF getting his clout. He's claiming to have slept all these women even before they got rich, which is kind of a funny thing. I don't like this whole narrative about if you have to become a high value man and that's how you get chicks. This kind of stuff and this part of the internet was never about that. There was never such a huge emphasis on that. It was just about understanding women, trying to learn some game. You know what I mean? It really was more for the average guy. And I feel like so much of this just focuses now on becoming this rich Bugatti driving, private jet flying, just, 6 foot tall, whatever. That last part's going to be impossible if you're not already there. And then you hear, okay, he says he has all these chicks before he got rich. And it's the best thing you can do is learn how to get girls before you get rich. To me, it would be a nightmare to get rich first and then have to learn how to get girls, because you only have way more to lose at that point.
Absolute facts there, bro. You couldn't have said it any better. So you probably have some experience. You probably know some people who got wrecked.
Dude, I mean, well, what really made my opinion that was working at the child support agency, because it's man, I saw so many different guys come in with different jobs. I saw the guys with less money. I saw the guys with more money. I saw software engineers making $250,000 a year. I saw surgeons making more than that. And it's just it just seemed like the system is crafted to punish you if you're a better citizen. The more money you make, the more you get screwed over. Then there's the guys on the other end who will have 7 kids and they're not making minimum wage and there's not much child support can do about it. And for me, on a personal level, it's I didn't really start having girlfriends and stuff until more recently in my life, because, my own personal issues and stuff like that. And as I got better at that, when I was younger, I really wanted to be a doctor. That was my main thing, and it didn't happen. And with the first chick I was with, it ended up really badly. And there was this point when I was heartbroken, I was in the shower and I was like, man, I'm so happy I never became a doctor, because I would have found a woman like that and she would have just put up with her unattraction for me long enough to screw me up. You know what I mean? And it's like, I see a lot of guys who find that lesson when it's just too late. And it's like, okay, if God ever blesses me and I come into money, I'll know exactly what to watch for now, you know, and how to not leverage myself into a position like that.
And I tell dudes all the time, it's about game. It's about, when people hear me say game, like, well, it's not all about womanizing. To me, when I say game, just substitute understanding. When I say game, and I talk about the red pill, I'm thinking about the movie The Matrix. I'm thinking you are truly unplugged. You see the code for what it is. So many dudes refuse to accept the fact that women are out here running game.
Absolutely, women are running game. Oh my God. I mean, and I've seen guys on the worst thing. There was a case, you know, that I had, and like sometimes what would happen is I would talk to the guy, because the guy comes in at one part of the day and then the woman comes in at one part of the day. But I remember, like, there was this woman sitting in front of me, and you know, the paternity was at issue. You know what I mean? So I was trying to explain, like, hey, you might ask for a genetic test. If you ask for a genetic test, then, you know, we're going to have to go through that. And it's going to take a little bit of time until the court looks at it and all these things. Or he can accept it. And she's like, I'll just call him in and have him sign the paperwork. And I was like, whoa, hold on. I mean, you know what I mean? She called this guy in front of me, and I can hear like her tone change. I can kind of hear the guy on the other side of the phone. And it's like, this dude was still like clearly in love with her, but she was done with him. You know what I mean? He was talking to a snake at that moment. And it was just this weird moment for me. I was 25 when I started working at child support. And, you know, I was still kind of young and fresh faced. And then I worked there until I was just before I turned 31. And then I left. And you see a lot of red pill truths working at a place like that. I'll tell you that.
I bet you do, man. And we got paid players are in demand with the $10 super chat. I appreciate you, bro. He's like, Shah's on point. I've watched his video on paternity fraud. It is, I guess he's trying to say accurate and inaccurate to say child support is unbiased. Law in California is written. Yeah.
He's saying like it's inaccurate to say child support's unbiased, because of the paternity laws are biased against men. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. No. So because I'm reading it, it's like, all right. But I tell people all the time, I'm like, bro, when it comes to the money side, yes, I get the custody side, but when it comes to the money side, they only want to know who has the bread. That's just my take on it. You know, look at Kelly Clarkson. Yeah.
Britney Spears is another one. She's paying $40,000 a month to Kevin Federline for two kids. Halle Berry, I think, might have been. Yeah,
Halle Berry.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, there's examples you can point to of women kind of being crushed by the system. Also, it just doesn't happen as often because men typically, as the red pill rightly points out, women seek a provider male in order to marry with, you know, and women typically choose men that are making more than them. And that's stuff I'm sure Myron and Fresh and Fit go over plenty on their show also, you know.
They do. And here's the thing. I haven't met Rolo yet in person. It's just a matter of time. I just haven't been at the same place at the same time, whatever. But Rolo was on Fresh and Fit's platform. This is a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I sent a super chat and I was just like, hey, I believe that the laws are going to change at some point, not because of what it's doing to men, but because women are going to out earn men and they're going to begin to get wrecked.
Absolutely true. And this is what I've tried to point out on some of my videos also, is that family law reform isn't something that's just here to help men who are just upset at the system. This helps women also. And I think us guys in the manosphere, for us to gain support, I think we're more likely to gain support from the women on even the feminist and the progressive liberal side, because this helps them instead of from the tradcon side. You know what I mean? Higher earning women, I think it would actually open up the market a bit for them. If you got a woman making, you know, she's an attorney, she makes $150,000 a year. If she can marry a guy working at the county like I used to, making $65,000 a year and not have to worry about getting screwed over, they might be more likely to do that. You know what I mean? So we need laws that are actually fair and equitable and aren't kind of couched in these antiquated sort of expectations and traditionalism that they are now. The laws are entirely antiquated, and the marriage contract, at least, is a moot point, and it's really not worth it for anyone to sign.
But dudes do it anyway. And Love What Man has a good point. He's saying, like, you know, feminism does have 60-year head start as far as the political side of it and all that. Although we're talking about different ways. He's correct. You know what I mean? But there are too many dudes out there who still believe in the old, let's call it blue pill for lack of a better term. You know, I'm just going to go out here and be that stand-up guy and get mauled. And I mean, there's so many dudes out there, bro. I'm like, stop it. What's your take on that?
Well, man, here's the thing. A lot of those guys, I think, are kind of operating off of the sort of traditional imperative or whatever. One example I can think of is Officer Tatum. He was just on whatever podcast talking to Brian, and he was really selling Brian the idea of marriage. It's just like, well, if you roll up your sleeves and you get 2 jobs and you get a night shift and you provide and everything's going to be fine and you got to manifest and have faith. Then another example, Steven Crowder. For the longest time, he's sitting there selling the blue pill to people. Now he's finally going through it, and now he's like, all right, maybe some of you guys, but marriage is still good. You know what I mean? Like a lot of guys, I think the problem is that men are raised to be traditional and women now do not have to be traditional. So men buying into the traditional system is subsidizing women not having to be traditional, right? So yes. you can have a woman who makes all the right noises right before it's time to get married, and you marry her, yet the law allows her, provided she's not the provider, which she probably won't be because she's selling you on being a good wife. The law then allows her to sit here and breach the contract and get rewarded for it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I've seen this happen many times and in many different ways. And it's just a bad deal for men all the way around.
All the way around. And, it's already begun. You look at states like Florida, no more forever alimony. Yeah. Ron DeSantis did that. I'm not a DeSantis guy. DeSantis is a complete idiot, but he got that right. And then you look at right now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Florida also mandated that it is in the best interest of the child to have equal access to both parents. So that means the default now in Florida is 50-50.
I hope that's the case. I mean, I haven't run across that. I definitely agree and think that should be the case. Specifically for married couples who are divorcing, I think it should be default 50-50, unless someone can prove in court that one or the other party is dangerous. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The other part, when it comes to custody, I did a video saying custody should be taxpayer funded, right? Because a woman can walk in child support and every single thing is free for her. Well, it's paid for by the taxpayer, you and me, everybody else. And they can get all the money they need. But then you got a guy, he's fighting a child support case. He's fighting a divorce case. He's fighting, now, and then he has to do a third case. Now he has to hire a private attorney. He has to try to fight for custody. But how's he supposed to do that when money's getting siphoned from the child support, from the regular, divorce case and all these things? And it's like, if the government really cared about the well-being of children and about having families together and fostering those bonds, there would be as much support for men at least getting a hearing for custody. If not, you can't force them to get custody. You might have a guy who had a one-night stand with a woman and he lives 2 states away and it comes back that he's the father. He should probably have to go through court because it might be weird to just give this kid to whoever this guy is if we don't know. But it should at least be taxpayer funded in that way so men can get a fair shot at getting custody instead of it being private. And that's better for the well-being of the child also.
I would take it a step further. I would say that in that situation, there's no marriage or whatever, one night stand, that man gets a choice. I would say that man just like women get choices, that man gets a choice. And a lot of people get mad because people get mad at me when I say that, and they'll think it's the whole delete the child. I'm like, no. I'm talking about after the baby gets here. Women can have a baby, and I don't know
for adoption.
Adoption, or just I can't handle this and give it to the fire department or give it to the and then that child winds up in the system. That parent, that female, is not forced to be financially responsible for that child, but the men are.
Women have an out for every single consequence that can potentially happen from them expressing their sexuality. Men have no such luxury when it comes to that. As soon as it leaves the man, there's not much you can do. Can I give you an example of a